Hello, I am Paula Bennett and welcome to my podcast, Ask Me Anything. I've gone through plenty of ups and downs in my life and have learnt a lot along the way, but now that I've got a midlife crisis reinvention under my belt, I know it's never too late to learn something new. That's why on this podcast, I talk to people from all walks of life to hear about how they got to where they are and get some advice and guidance on some of life's biggest questions. For the last episode of this season, I brought out the big guns. We are going to end season 2 with a bang. We have a great guest for you today. I am joined by relationship expert and psychologist John Aiken. You will all know John from the hugely popular reality show Married at First Sight. He's one of the experts, the matchmaker of the experiment. He's been on 10 seasons of the hit show and has worked as a relationship expert for the last 25 years and has a neat Kiwi story to tell as well. He's in the country at the moment and joins me. Hi, John.
Paula, I am so excited about this. I've been over here doing some media, but this is a highlight.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, I feel a bit silly because I've got 2 rules for my podcast. And I was thinking I don't really need to give a psychologist my rules.
Let's hear.
One of the rules just should be obvious. I call it no judgy.
Yeah.
Which you would agree with, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish our more participants on MAFS weren't judgmental.
Yeah, I bet. And then I'm allowed to ask you anything, but you don't have to answer.
Great.
Because that's a strength as well, I think, knowing when to actually shut up.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, less is more.
Yeah.
You know, I find on the show, I don't do that much talking, but when I talk, I want to really make it land. And so I try and say things in very short, sharp ways.
I've learnt that over the years. So I used to be one that had to fill the silence, and I think women can be a bit like that, sometimes genderising, but, you know, we can be a little bit must fill the gap.
And, you know, you're on TV in a reality show, you think, well, you just got to talk and get more airtime, but it's actually the other way around. You want to just say things that really people are going to stand up and listen to.
Yeah. Okay, we've already warmed up. I'm going to warm you up more. Favourite book as a child or recently
well, I actually have loved a book about Anthony Bourdain. I'm fascinated with celebrity chefs, which is a bit weird, but, you know, that's something that I've always been interested in because they're hugely famous, but they carry such demons with them. This was a book from other people's perspectives on how they knew him, his rise to fame, and then what happened in terms of his life. And I just found that it was really intriguing that this man was sort of thrust into the spotlight and how he tried to grapple with it.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge for him the whole time. And I think anyone with that sort of fame, whether you're a chef or a musician or an artist, it is very difficult to kind of get your head around it. It's a very strange experience, I think, at that level.
Yeah, I agree. Our own Sam Neill, and he was saying the other day, we of course think he's extremely famous, but he was saying, you know, I love him too, but he was going, thank goodness I'm not that famous. You know, I can still go to the cafe and have a drink.
Yeah, he probably goes to the supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, I love his wine, by the way.
Oh, yeah. How can you not?
Please.
Okay, best place for a first date?
Well, I would say for me, it would be in a restaurant because I love my food, I love my wine, and as long as it's not too noisy and distracting, I think you can sort of eat and get to know one another in a fairly relaxed way.
And then for me, it would be if he tried to eat off my plate, that's a no. It'd be like,
right.
We'll just end it now.
That's right. There's so much, or a loud chewer. It's like, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. And you get to know that pretty quickly.
That's right.
Okay, John, in the second part of the podcast, we're going to get lots of advice from you.
Sure.
Because we've all got relationships at some level or want to be in one, and you're going to help us. But in the first part here, we're going to get to know you a little bit better. So I mentioned the link with New Zealand. So you lived here for how long? I mean, years?
Well, yeah, probably 30 years. I came over here when I was 12. I did all my training at Victoria University down in Wellington. And I played first-class cricket while at the same time working as a psychologist. And I had a great time and met my wife, Kelly, and then we moved back to Australia in 2008.
Wow.
And so we always come back once a year. The kids, we like to keep them in touch with New Zealand culture. And I have, you know, a strong affinity to
Yeah.
the country. It's important to me, and obviously with my wife being a Kiwi.
So you were studying while playing pro cricket?
Yes. I was doing both. I had great lecturers that sort of would give me some time off to follow through with my love of sport. And it was great. I was so pleased, though, that when I stopped playing cricket, I had got this education, I had got my degree, and I could go straight into the workforce. And I loved it. I didn't think that relationships would be what I was going to end up in, though. I thought I'd be a sports psychologist.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because it's quite interesting, the pro cricket thing. So you must be incredibly disciplined. You must be quite determined. I mean, to get to the top of any sport, right? There is a certain discipline around it.
Yes, and I was very much focused from a young kid. You know, I was always in the backyard. It was either cricket or rugby for me. And, you know, I was goal-driven, and I did a lot of my training on my own. So I guess as I got older, you can apply that to various other avenues. University, I was very disciplined as well. And even with Married at First Sight now, you know, I'm pretty disciplined about how I go into it, going on set and getting prepared, because it is almost like a big event. When you have like a commitment ceremony, you arrive, there's hundreds of people on set, you've got the executives there, you know it's a big time sort of night that you've got to deliver. And so I like to be as prepared as I can for it.
Yeah. You mentioned Kelly, your wife. You must be quite annoying to live with, I was thinking. Because, I mean, as you say, you're so disciplined, and then you must know so much about relationships. It's just like, well, are you like that perfect man? That would
No, I'm not. Here's the thing. When things get under my skin, I go into my cave and I withdraw and I don't talk enough, and she'll say, John, come on, snap out of it. You know, and she'll say, I certainly do things wrong, and I do. I'm not perfect. And also, one of the things I love about Kelly is early on when I met her, she said, I want a husband, not a therapist.
Yeah, good.
And that was great. She said, no psychobabble in this house. I've always loved that, because we're just two people trying to make our relationship work. We've got two kids, 13 and 10-year-olds, and we have great moments together, and then I also make mistakes. What's great, though, I think, is that we repair quickly. So I can come out of my cave and say, look, you know, I'm sorry I've done that wrong, or, you know, I let you down here, and we move forward. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I think is so key, is being able to put your hand up and say sorry, full stop.
Yeah. Now, a lot on Married at First Sight, on MAFS, they don't know how to say sorry.
That is a good observation, Paula. They do not. Whether that's that they've never really thought that they were wrong, or that they've not had good models as they've grown up, they really struggle with being accountable.
Yeah. Is it big egos, though, too? So
they have big egos,
You have to have a big ego to go on the show.
Yeah, you do. Because the spotlight is on you for 10 weeks and the cameras are 24/7. And no one that's sort of a shy wallflower is going to put their hand up for that. So they're big personalities, and they probably look at the world through their own eyes, and sorry isn't something that they say that often. Some of them are okay with it, but a number of them really struggle with it.
And do you think that we are seeing bigger personalities, and certainly in season 10 in some respects, and appalling behaviour from some of them? But is that also a part of society, in your opinion, where it is all through a lens of Instagram? I notice it with younger people. It's how I look, how I'm projecting myself out there, and it's all about me. Whereas, you know, I don't think it was kind of as much of that.
When you and I were growing up, Paula, it wasn't that way.
No.
I mean, in fact, I've been in a really interesting position in that when I started the show 10 years ago, social media wasn't really a thing. And it's blown up in front of my eyes, and it's certainly taken its impact on the participants every year. They are thinking about image. They are thinking about the world after the show and what they can do and careers they can have. And it's, I think also married with that is the apps that are out there for people to meet and date. It's very transactional. And so I don't know whether the younger generation that are coming through have the same sort of element of commitment in relationships that perhaps we might have when we were younger. And it's very easy to move and bounce around from one person to the next. And you can break up with people on texts or just ghost them. So that face-to-face connection and relationship building isn't as easy for them as it was for us.
Yeah, no, it's quite fascinating. And although I was reading recently that they were saying that the dating apps are becoming not as popular now, and I was thinking, well, that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah,
you know, and if it's a way to meet someone, I'll go, hey, you know, can we catch up for a coffee? I always say to my friends at this ripe old age, you know, I just go, hey, if it's a way to arrange to meet someone for a coffee or something so that you're making that face-to-face, it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But they develop a relationship that's not a relationship before they even then meet.
That's right. That's right. And I think when I look at the show, not only are they trying to get along with their intimate partner that we've matched them with, but they're also trying to get along with the group. And they can struggle really with that as well, you know, just in terms of how to read a room, when to be quiet and when to speak up. So the show, when you watch it, you really get an insight into how people approach relationships. And more often than not, they're not very good at it.
Do you get as frustrated as... Yeah, I get frustrated watching it.
Yeah.
Almost a bit angry, I've got to tell you sometimes. You know, like...
No, I understand that. And you know, when I'm sitting on the couch, I can actually feel myself getting frustrated with what I'm hearing because they're doing old patterns that they've always done that sabotage them in intimate relationships. And when I'm holding a mirror up to them, they're not listening. And that is quite challenging at times because even the group are giving them feedback saying, hey, we're seeing a pattern here and they're not hearing it. Yeah. So it is a show that I think everybody watches and relates to and sort of invests in, which has made it so popular.
Yeah, well, some people are absolutely obsessed with it.
Yeah, and I think it's got a lot to do with, well, it is everything to do with the cast. It's based on a fairy tale and I think strangely you learn about what not to do in relationships by watching it. If you're single, you avoid certain types. If you're in a relationship, you look and say, well, we have to do this differently. So it's a very unique show and there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And when we first launched it, it was up against singing, cooking, dancing, renovation shows. There was no relationship shows. And no one really thought that it would explode, and it did.
So the matchmaker fascinates me. You know, it's quite interesting. When I was getting married, my father said, I would never have chosen him for you, but he's perfect, which gave both of us a wee smile because, you know, if I sort of sit back and reflect on my own, I think, yeah, it's probably true, you know. So then you being a matchmaker of just interviewing and getting to know them and then really thinking about the different personalities, yeah, that quite fascinates me.
It's a very interesting process. It's exhausting. It goes for about 2 months. You're looking at their bios and their backgrounds, their audition tapes. You get to meet them over Zoom and then face-to-face. And you're really trying your best to get a sense of who they are and where they've gone wrong and who it is that they need, you know, that's going to give them a chance at true love.
Not who they want, who they need.
That's right. Because what often happens is they expect us to match them with the types that they've always been going out with. And that's just setting them up to fail. And so, you know, because they'll have a list of strict criteria and it doesn't work. And often they'll say, you match me with a blonde, I'm out. I wanted a brunette.
Yeah.
And we're saying, but in terms of values, in terms of, you know, your communication styles and your backgrounds, you're actually a really good match. And they'll go, no, they don't have the right hair colour or they're into crystals.
Yeah.
And that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. So we do have a type, right? And is that born on either something that we have seen or is it equally sort of learned behaviours or things we're attracted to?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I think everybody's different. What I hope is that people think about types in terms of core values and what's important to you, not hair colour, whether they're into crystals, are they into rugby or netball, what are they like in terms of going to the beach. We want them to be actually looking at things like, are they kind? Are they people that are prepared to be loyal? Are they? How do they look at parenting and raising kids? You know, being in a monogamous relationship important to you. So we want them to hopefully stop and think about things much deeper than what they have done in the past.
Yeah. So it's about the attributes of the person and those underlying values as opposed to more of the physical.
And yet they'll
more frivolous.
Often when you say, what do you look for in a person, they'll go with the physical.
Yeah. I mean, the show's quite controversial and you're in the middle of it. Do you feel the pressure of that or,
I do feel certainly the spotlight.
Yeah.
And as it's gone to 10 seasons, it's much more noticeable now. And I think because it's gone overseas, it's in 120 countries now. So it's a very popular show. And you notice it when you go to an airport or a supermarket or, a mall, my kids at school. It just sort of generalises out through society now. And so there's a lot more recognition than I think I've ever had. And that feels different.
Have you got a couple of little sentences that you use to shut people down? I had them as a politician.
Yeah,
you do, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
right. And being a politician and on a noisy reality show, it's quite similar in that you'll get people that'll come up and say, I love what you're doing, Paula, but then you'll also get people that really don't like you at all. And I find that still quite surprising and unsettling at times that people will come over to me and they will love the show, but then another person will come over and say, I find you unbearable. I really dislike what you do. And they feel compelled to cross the road to tell me that.
Yeah, weird, eh?
Yeah. So, yes, you do kind of feel more of a spotlight, I think, is what it's like. And you've got to think about being a role model because whenever you're out, you're on, which you would have seen.
Yeah, definitely. And I used to, if it was a personal, I don't like you or I just always in my own head used to think, well, you don't actually know me.
Yeah.
So you might not like something I've done and you might not like something I've said and then you've got complete right to have that opinion. But actually you don't know me. And I wouldn't say that. That's just what I would tell myself.
And I think the social media for me, it's blown up with the show. And so you have to have a thick skin about what's going to come through to you because it's just flowing negativity the whole time. And then Instagram, they send you messages and Facebook. So you just have to be aware of how to deal with it. And I've become much more resilient over the years. But when it first exploded, I think I was shocked with how, invested they were, but also how angry they can get at me.
Yeah, that personal, eh?
They get very personal. Yeah, you're just not really ready for the extreme sort of numbers of people that have their say because that's what social media does. It gives all these people a voice. Yeah. So no longer is it just a couple of people in a playground having you on.
Yeah.
It's now this torrent of negativity that you have to have a thick skin. And if you don't, then you're really going to struggle. And we really look after our participants and we give them social media training. There are psychologists that look after their mental health. We have a strong sense of duty of care because they really do receive that spotlight and it's intense for 10 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. So, John, how has it evolved over 10 seasons from the concept to where we are now? It looks different. You're different.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. That's all very true. When we first started, it was a small show. No one really thought that it would survive. It's now become a show that goes around the world. It's close to 40 episodes every year. It's very glossy. The production quality is amazing. You get all those drone shots and cityscapes and the music, the score behind it is now very important. And our role on the show is very different. I think our casts have become bigger personalities as the show's evolved and we go harder at them. I think initially we were more mediators. We would listen, we would reflect, we'd guide them through the experiment. Now we call out bad behaviour, we hold a mirror up. And I feel like I am essentially the voice of the audience who are watching. And I will need to bring attention to poor behaviour.
Yeah. Well, your language is probably better than mine watching it, shouting at the TV.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's taught me how important it is to say things in a short, sharp way and to do it in a way that lands. And I think I've got better at that over the years.
And they've watched 9 seasons, right? To be
Correct.
now on number 10. So they must go in more prepared or I don't know.
Yes.
It's different, isn't it?
Yes, it is very different. And the stakes are higher for them now because they know that after a show like this, some of them may have careers in the media. Some of them may go on to completely different things. And social media now is much bigger than it was back 10 years ago. So it is just a very different show now. But it's when you watch it, you still at the core want to see whether these two strangers can fall in love.
Yeah. Oh, what have you learnt then in 10 seasons? Because that's a long time.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I don't do a private practice now. I just do the show.
Wow.
And I'm very privileged.
Well, other couples must be boring now.
Yeah. Well, you certainly see the extremes on our show. I guess what I've learned, I think to me, it's been remarkable that I don't have a lot of time with the couples. It's only at those commitment ceremonies. And when I talk in a way which is really very direct, and it's there to shock them and get them to sit up straight and actually look at themselves. What I've learned along the way is that some of the words that you say, and you don't know what it's going to be, can actually have an impact on them because they might be on life support sitting in front of me in real crisis, and you'll say something to them and they'll come back the next week going, we're actually better than we've ever been. And it was because of that little thing that you said. And I'll be trying to remember what was it that I actually said. And then they'll tell me. And that's something that I've learned along the way, that all the couples are different. They all have a chance of turning it around. But there could be something small that you say that really does have a massive impact on people. And I love that. And I never know what it's going to be.
And that's life as well, isn't it? You know, we can remember a conversation from someone from many years ago that's actually resonated and made a difference in our lives. Yeah.
That's right. And so I've loved seeing the surprise turnarounds that our couples go through in these journeys that they're on.
Yeah.
And you never know what it is that's going to be the key that unlocks them.
Fantastic. All right, up next, it's advice time. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, we're going to deep dive on what makes for good relationships.
Yeah. I think I'm an expert too, so this should
Let's do it together.
Okay. All right, coming up soon. We are back with relationship expert John Aiken. John has been a relationship expert for 25 years, 10 seasons of expertise as a matchmaker on Married at First Sight and giving advice to those couples. He knows all, I've decided. And so we're going to ask him lots of questions and how we can make relationships work and how we can think about who we're going to meet and hook up with. You are the perfect man for some relationship advice. Here we go. Is there a length of time that you should know each other before you go into a serious relationship?
No, I think it's different for each person. But what I would say is that you want to see positive signs early on rather than red flags. Because what I notice is that a lot of people, they meet somebody, they see red flags and they go, I'm just going to give them a second chance here. I'm going to ignore those red flags and push forward with them. You don't want to do that.
What's a red flag then?
It might be that they say to you, I'm not looking for anything serious, or I've got a lot on my plate right now. Commitment's not really my thing. Or it might be that they turn up 45 minutes late, or they're rude to the waiter at the restaurant or the taxi driver. Or it could be that they sit down and say, I want to tell you about my ex. I'm still trying to get through it. There's so many things that you can see early on that tell you, oh, this is not going to end well. What you want to do is be disciplined and know there are certain things that you do not want to see early and get out of there if you do see them.
I'm smiling because I was single for the better part of 22, 3 years, and I did all of those. You know, you're like, literally you'd hear something, oh, he doesn't really mean it. Oh, it's just because, he doesn't mean he doesn't want commitment. It's just because he hasn't met me.
I know. And we have that sense of, oh, I can turn him around. I'm special enough.
Yeah.
They're going to fall in love with me. Maybe nobody else but me. We can do this. And you can't. And they just end up breaking your heart. And so I would encourage people to know what the red flags are that they need to look out for and don't go there when you see them.
I was once on a date and the guy was so rude to the waiter and it was just mortifying, right? And it was just going from bad to worse. And of course, then I was overcompensating because I was just so embarrassed, right? And all I'm thinking is, how do I get out of here? And now I would have got up and walked away, but I didn't. Anyway, it got to dessert and they said, would you like some dessert? I said, no, I'm fine. And he ordered dessert after being so rude, right? And then he said, oh, would you like a taste? I said, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind a little taste. And I had my spoon. And as I went to reach over, the waiter leant down into my ear and in the quietest voice ever went, please don't have a taste. It's so sweet.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
I was so thrilled.
Doesn't that tell you, though, if you're with somebody and they're really rude to people around you, that is a bad sign.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And also, if you're with a new love interest and they have slight put-downs to you, like it might be you meet them and you're having a drink at a bar and they go, oh, that was an interesting choice for an outfit that you have on tonight. Just that slight little put-down. These are bad signs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Do you think that marriage is still important, or more people living together de facto? Is there something in that level of commitment that you make?
I mean, I'm a firm believer of marriage. I'm very happy to say that I've been with my wife since 2007. But for some people, they don't see a difference in commitment. I guess it really comes down to what your values are around being in a relationship. You might say, well, I'm not interested in getting married, but all of the key values around a committed relationship are very important. So you can move forward and be with that person for 30 years and not get married. So it's really how you look at relationships and what's important to you. That's really key.
Yeah.
And if you're on that same level at the core, then you have a really good chance of surviving whether you're married or not.
Yeah, it was quite interesting for my husband and I. We weren't actually, neither of us was, we must get married, and marriage wasn't absolute, the commitment was. But we got married. One of the reasons was because I was in such a high profile job. And I just felt like I didn't want him being treated as my boyfriend coming along to this event, or you know what I mean? So for part of it was respect, and his children were living with us, and I felt that they needed the commitment from me to them. Yep. I don't know, that was how we kind of worked it out, but didn't particularly care about, well, you know what I mean? Like we made the commitment, so.
But I do think being in a committed relationship is something that humans are hardwired for. There's a lot to be gained from the attachment that you have in a committed relationship.
Okay, what are the things that we should be doing in those relationships to keep them healthy? What makes it a good relationship, if you like?
Well, I mean, that's one of the great things about relationship research that's out there. They do know what makes for good relationships now, and they're very practical things, and they're small things. What you want to be thinking in a relationship is you need to be doing little things daily and often, as opposed to grand gestures once a week or once a month.
Okay.
And the little things you want to be doing, things like praise your partner and express fondness and appreciation, not only behind closed doors, but in public. Praise your partner and be absolutely their cheerleader. It's important also when you bring up issues with your partner, you want to bring them up softly, rather than with a sledgehammer. Our guys on the show tend to use a sledgehammer.
What do you mean by that?
Softly, I mean, Paula, I've been thinking about this, has been on my mind. I feel kind of a bit unimportant when I'm talking to you and your head's in the phone. I'd love it if in the future when I'm talking to you, you could put the phone down. Saying that as opposed to, you know what, Paula, you always have your head in the phone when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And it's really getting under my skin. You always do that. There's two very different ways of bringing it up. If you bring it up softly and you own it, then you have a connection.
Yeah.
They say good listening comes from good speaking. So that's really important.
Oh, I get you on that. A couple of weeks ago, I said to my husband, I just said, I just feel like at the moment everything I say irritates you. And I just feel like it hasn't just been a day or two. I feel like it's sort of been building up. And it was quite interesting. He just didn't really say much, and that was all right. And then he came back later and he goes, I actually felt the same way about me. I felt like everything I was doing was irritating you. I mean, gosh, I think we're just both tired, been through a lot this year. And that was, and as you say,
gentle, it's soft, and it brings you close.
Yeah.
Versus you going at him and saying, why do you always do, I notice you're doing this now. And it's not fair, and that always goes badly.
Yeah.
So how you bring something up is often more important than what you bring up.
Sometimes it is a bit of maturity though as well.
Sure.
And, we learn.
Yeah.
And,
I think other things as well, Paula, that make for healthy relationships, rituals of connection. So what you do with your husband on a daily basis, it might be little texts during the day. It could be an early morning coffee, or it could be a wine at night, going to bed at the same time, kisses hello and goodbye in the morning and in the evening. All of those little rituals of connection create a strong glue, and you want to make sure that that is happening on a regular basis. Also, you want to make sure that when your partner is making bids for connection, it might be they say something, Paula, where have I left my keys? Whatever it is. And technology, you're on technology, you always put your phone down and you respond back. Doesn't matter where they are in the house, you always want to respond back so that you're catching that bid for connection and you're saying, I hear you. I may not know where the keys are, but I'm just going to respond back because that way you feel like you're a part of the relationship.
Oh, I don't do that.
So that's a key one.
Okay.
Another one that's really important, and I would say this to all couples, is every day you've got to have a little daily debrief where you come home and you say, all right, I want to tell you about my stresses in the day. And you talk to your partner and your partner does a very important thing. They listen and they don't fix. No solutions, no advice, no how-tos. You just sit with them, you side with them and you empathise, but no solutions. And then once they've done that, then you swap roles. That's an absolutely key element to a healthy couple because you kind of feel like then you're there for me. I can bring anything to you and you're not going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of couples can't do that. They're into right and wrong, judgment. They're into how-tos and fixing. And that usually brings people into a state of feeling dismissed.
Yeah.
So that's an important one.
So, and I suppose it's fairly obvious, but those sort of common mistakes that you see so often, and I mean, you've really almost touched on that already. They're not listening properly. They're not identifying.
No rituals. Yep. So you don't spend any time together. You don't listen. When you bring up issues, you have got this point scoring where I'm right, you're wrong, and you bring it up harshly. These sorts of, if you like, symptoms of a relationship that's in crisis. And that then starts to spread into the bedroom. So the sex is going to drop away. The intimacy is not going to be there. And then you spend even less time together. So all of these things are red flags. And I often say to couples, before I tell you what you need to do to put this right, let's have a think about what are 5 things that you notice are signs when you're actually in a really bad way. What are your red flags? It might be, well, we don't talk, we don't spend time together, we don't go to bed at the same time. I notice that, you go into your cave and I chase you around the house all the time trying to get you to connect with me. So you'll know red flags. It's important to know what they look like so that you can kind of interrupt them before they get too bad.
So when do you know you need professional help?
I would say it's when you are feeling as though these problem symptoms, these red flags have been going on for a good period of time, not just a week, because you can have phases, ups and downs, but they've been going on for months on end. They're getting worse. They're interrupting your daily functioning because you can't actually get it off your mind. It's always front of your thinking. You start to realise we are drifting, and most of the time you feel bad around this person. They're signs that you need to go in and speak to someone.
Yeah. How do you cope if one of you wants to and the other one doesn't?
It's very hard. You can get change with just one person because let's just say you came in and saw me, but not your husband. I could say these are the ways in which you want to start reconnecting with him and speaking to him and doing it differently. And that can actually change the pattern. And then he starts warming up and away you go.
Yeah.
But ideally you want both.
Yeah.
Because if one person's not coming in, it might be that's because they want to exit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you do, it's kind of dead in the water.
Yeah, they've already made up their mind in their own head. My father recently passed away, but they were married 61 years. Wow. And I said to my mother, oh my goodness, how on earth did you make a marriage last? And I always loved it because she just said we never wanted to leave each other at the same time.
Wow.
Just you reminded me of that when you sort of said, you have a bad week, right?
Yes.
But you get to a point where you just know it's going to pass because actually the love is strong enough and you've got the foundations you know what I mean? You're just annoying me this week and so we just need to get past that and reset and go again.
Yeah,
but I love my mother's thing. It was God, I wanted to leave him, trust me, but he fought for it or he probably wanted to leave me, but I fought for it.
That's right.
We just never wanted to leave at the same time.
And you can go in and out of those phases, but I think most people who have been in a long-term relationship know that they can pass. Then I ask couples in front of me, what did you used to do that made you so good together? And they'll go, oh, well, we used to walk down the beach. We used to go to the gym every morning together. We'd go to that favourite cafe of ours on a Sunday for brunch. We'd socialise quite a bit. And I'd say, where's that now? And they'd say, oh, that's we haven't done that for a long time. And so they're actually coming up with their own blueprint with that one single question. And they start to think to themselves, you know what? We can turn this around, but we've got to go back to what we were doing when we were really good together.
Yeah. Arguing, good or a bad thing? Can we have a healthy argument?
No, arguing's healthy. It's how you argue that's the key. You want to avoid criticism. You want to avoid particularly contempt, because that's the biggest predictor of divorce. You want to avoid real defensiveness and, of course, that sort of stonewalling where you're shutting down, you're going into your cave for days on end. The amazing thing about MAFS is you see all of this happening live in front of you.
Yeah.
And so it's got this strangely educational element to it where people are watching going, oh, wow, he or she shuts down like that, stonewalls, and they haven't talked for a day. We do that. We can't do that. That's terrible for us. And so it's all those ways in which we argue poorly. You can see that on the show.
Yeah.
But there are definitely certain things that you have to remember when you bring things up. It's got to be soft. It's got to be owning it. So I feel about whatever it is, and I'd love it if you do it differently. So if you can do that, then the person stays engaged with you.
Yeah.
And that's the key with it. But you want to think about it before you bring it up. What's actually bugging me here, and what do I want him to do or she to do differently? And what's the feeling do I feel unimportant? Is it neglected? Is it not good enough? What is it? And then once you really nail what you want to say, then you bring it up gently.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on it with your own relationship, that ability to own your mistakes without sounding completely conceited. I had to almost teach my husband that, right? And this is how good it is. I can't even remember what the mistake was now, right? But I remember there was this tension for 2 days, and I just literally said to him, if you say sorry to me and you mean it, I'm then the jerk if I don't accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it goes from you being a jerk to me being the jerk.
It's so very powerful. To be able to say I'm sorry, full stop.
And mean it.
And mean it. So incredibly transformational, because the person feels heard. The person that's been hurt, they feel heard. Like, okay, now you get it. But a lot of people can't do it. They feel like if they have to say sorry, then in some way they're wrong or have failed, and they don't want to admit that.
Yeah, that is big.
And so what it means is they struggle with intimate relationships because they've always got to be right. And they've always got to take the lead, and it's a one-way street, and it just doesn't work for them.
Yeah. By the way, I have to say sorry quite often too. It's a two-way street.
I think it's good.
It's a two-way street. Okay, this is the time for me to step back, and because it's called Ask Me Anything, John, you're allowed to ask me something now.
What makes you so good at relationships?
Well, I don't think I am that good at relationships.
I bet there's one or two things.
Well, we're second time round.
Yeah.
So we were together when we were younger. And then we like to say we've been together for like 35 years with a, 25-year gap, By the time we chose each other again, if you like, and he'd always been the love of my life, and I'd never married I'd never married until I married him at the age of 42 or something. So by the time we got there, we both knew that it was an absolute commitment, and we were in the same space in that respect. And then after listening to you, I do think we both do the little things well.
Yeah.
Neither of us are into grand gestures. We don't do Valentine's Day. We don't do, that stuff's not for either of us. But we do the little thing, like just that. And the word I would probably use a lot is respect.
Yes, that's key, whether it's the way you are talking to your partner or whether it's the way in which you work together as a team. Respect's got to be a key at the core of it. Here's another question. What would the older Paula say to the younger one about how to make intimate relationships work?
Oh, as a hothead. Oh, you know what I think. And of course, I'm kind of known for being opinionated and a bit stroppy. But my husband, when people sort of say something to him now, he goes, oh my God, you should have met her when she was 19. Like, this is her mellow and quiet. I was very, I could just fly off the handle kind of thing. I'd like to think I'm not as bad as some on your show, but I'm sure there would have been moments when I'm actually slightly embarrassed about my own behaviour at times, if I look back at that. So it's take a breath.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't have to know everything you feel right at that moment.
Yeah. No, I think it's brave to also be able to admit it. You know, like I'm sitting here and hearing that from you. For me, I would say to my younger self, let go and go with the flow. Stop trying to be such a control freak.
Yeah.
Because I used to be, you know, and I think that came from my days of cricket, being so disciplined. I lived in a bubble where everything had to be controlled and ordered and planned. Well, that's terrible to go out with someone like that, you know, not able to compromise and is very fixed. Now I'm the opposite to that. And I think I put that down to my wife she's very spontaneous and she lives life to the fullest and gets me way out of my comfort zone. And I love that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that when I was young.
Yeah. Oh, that is very good. Well, John, it's been so great to meet you.
We've had fun, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So thank you so much for being here and so informed, and it's got me thinking. If people want more, of course, they just go to TV3 and watch some Married at First Sight.
Yes. There's plenty to watch there in terms of relationships, what not to do. But I think also what I've loved today, particularly, Paula, about, you know, when you talk relationships, you get it because you're able to build rapport quickly, which is fantastic, and make people feel at ease. But you're also aware that little things matter in relationships. You just got to make it intentional. And I think a lot of people don't really give relationships the focus they need. They're into, you know, going to the gym and getting fit, or pursuing their career, or maybe trying to get a nice house and getting the mortgage or whatever it is. But relationships actually really require you to make them intentional and do little things to embellish them.
Yeah.
And you get that. And I think we've talked about that today, which is important to me because I love that side of it, making relationships understandable and relatable. That's what I hope when people listen to what I'm saying, that they sit back and go, well, that's not that hard to do. I just have to turn on to that.
Yeah. And as you say, intentional.
Make it intentional, make it purposeful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I've absolutely loved it. You're on social, so people can find you at John Aiken Live on all the main sites. That's it for this episode and another season of Ask Me Anything.
Congratulations, season 2 in the bag.
We're going to be back with all new guests and episodes in June. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Make sure you follow Ask Me Anything on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also read my weekly column in the Herald on Sunday. I'm Paula Bennett. Ask Me Anything. Goodbye.